watching Big 12 now on ESPN. The number 7 Texas Longhorns riding a 3-game winning streak. Visit Schollmeyer Arena on the campus of TCU. It's the final regular season Big 12 matchup between these two rivals. And welcome in courtside, along with former TCU Horned Frog Jada Curtis. I'm John Liddle. Great to have you with us as well. Yes, TCU has been undermanned, down to basically 6 players. But they've been in each and every game since they stubbed their toe with injuries. Jada, how is TCU doing this?
Their three-point shooting. They shoot 37.5% from the three-point line, and that's been able to keep them in games. And so if they shoot well tonight, they've got a chance to beat number 7 Texas.
Well, Texas is no stranger to big injuries this season, but a freshman has stepped up in a huge way for this Texas team and led them. Let's talk about Madison Booker.
Yeah, Madison Booker is one of the best freshmen in the country. The 6'1" forward has taken over the point guard duties since Rory Harmon went down and has been unstoppable. She averages 15.6 points per game and 5 rebounds, but she has such a unique skill set. One thing that really stands out is her elite basketball IQ, and I'm sure it'll be on display today.
Meanwhile, for the Horned Frogs, Sydney Harris, her last 5 games have been sparkling.
You know, injuries has been a big issue for TCU, but one positive thing about them is they've gotten Sydney Harris back from injury. In her first year at TCU, she's showing why she was the MAC Freshman of the Year. She averages 16.3 points per game in the last 3 games and is leading the Big 12 in three-point shooting since mid-January. Her capability behind the arc will put pressure on Texas all day long.
Vic Schaefer in his 4th season as head coach of Texas and has just done a first-rate job in Austin. Back-to-back Elite Eights. Last year, the Big 12 Coach of the Year. He is just 2 wins shy of 400 in his career in his 19th season. Patrolling the sideline of a D1 team, and for the TCU Horned Frogs, it is Mark Campbell immediately turning things around in Fort Worth with that 14-0 start, and now trying to double the win total from last season for TCU when they went 8-21. We're ready to go. TCU in the purple, Texas in the white, and Texas moving left to right across your screen. The number 7 team in the country, and immediately putting it in the hands of Madison Booker, who has moved to the point guard spot, as Jada mentioned, thanks to the injury to All-American Rory Harmon.
We're going to see TCU start here in a 1-2-2. That's a defense that they're not super familiar with. They've been in a man, especially with the injuries, and got their first turnover.
They did, as Roberson came out with the steal. Victoria Flores running the point with Jaden Owens going down due to injury. Both these teams missing a major cog at point guard. TCU a really good outside shooting team, and an initial offering by Agnes Eminopu rims out.
Like we talked about in the open, they shoot 37.5% from the 3, and that's really what's been keeping them in games. They make a couple more, you know, some of those losses would turn into wins here.
Yeah, TCU shoots a lot of threes. A lot of their points come from 3. For Texas, almost none of their points come from 3. Good denial as Aaliyah Moore goes baseline and knock it out by Tara Manamala-Unya.
And I think if TCU, you know, really starts with the energy like they have thus far on the defensive end and get out in transition, that'll help combat some of the size difference that they have with Texas.
Booker at 6'1", can see over the defense on the entry. Holly pops it inside. Taylor Jones at 6'4", misses. Roberson got really big inside against her.
She's doing such a good job on the boards, you know, on both offensive and defensive side.
See the TCU starting 5, Manamala-Unya, Jovanovic, Eminopu, along with Roberson and Victoria Flores at the point guard spot. Only 10 to shoot for Flores and company, guarded by the much bigger Booker. Eminopu, another look at 3, this one off the back rim. TCU 0 for 2, the early going from deep. Longhorns, though, one of the best offensive teams in the country this season, 8th in the nation in scoring, almost 84 points a game, and top 10 in field goal percentage as well. It's a 3 by Gonzalez out of the corner. That falls off. Both teams cold to start the game, and Texas head coach Vic Schaefer told us after 2 huge wins over ranked opponents, he gave the girls a couple days off, and it felt like a long time for him as a head coach.
Yeah, for sure. You know, you want to really get back at it and keep that momentum. And, you know, he said they haven't had great practices. before this game. So really, it's going to be interesting to see how they come out thus far.
Another great look. This time, Roberson knocks down the triple, and the Horned Frogs strike first.
And she stepped up into such a pivotal role for TCU. She was coming off the bench, that sixth man. Now she's one of the go-tos here in this new lineup and just getting it done on both ends.
Really stretched the floor. Now Booker, short corner, gets Texas on the board. She has been outstanding this season. A National Freshman of the Week honor for Booker this week.
We're going to talk about her a lot this game.
Boy, are we. She'll have the ball in her hands. Nancy Lieberman said last game, she was on the broadcast with Ron Thulin, a guy we know very well here at TCU, that she could see her being a four-time All-American. Flores out of the corner, around and off on the three, but Agnes Emenopu, who never quits on a play, couldn't quite bring in the offensive rebound.
Unfortunately, of just where she was, just stepped out, or her hand was out of bounds there. But again, you love the effort and energy that she gives there, especially on those offensive boards, trying to get her team extra possessions.
Emenopu and Roberson have to play basically the whole way inside for TCU against this oversized Texas team. An offensive rebound and stick back by Jones. No, but she gets a second chance. And Texas is an outstanding rebounding team, an exemplary rebounding team on the offensive and defensive boards.
And again, just they have such size over their opponents that they're able to really crash on those rebounds.
Manumala Unya going down the edge of the lane, loses it, but Roberson gets it outside to Jovanovic. Her three-pointer goes begging. But another great look for TCU. They're getting the look so far.
And if they knock them down, it would be a different game.
Meanwhile, Holly gets a wide open look as well, but that goes long. Flores in full flight. Does she have the numbers? Kicks it out. Manumala Unya able to save it. Jovanovic left unguarded. And coming back out with an Emenopu. And Jovanovic off the mark once more. Again, the Horned Frogs, that's exactly what they want, these open threes.
They do want those open threes. I don't like that second three that Una, took right there. Half her team was in the backcourt trying to get back on the defensive end. And so I think you get a better high percentage shot, especially because you've been cold thus far. Booker's
an outstanding mid-range player, but again, both teams starting out a little bit cold. It was a really good matchup the first time around. Yeah, TCU was without Prince in that game as Emenopu puts up her third triple, and it harems off. The rebound out, last touch by Flores. However, it was a one-point game with 7 minutes left. Texas went on to win by 12.
And they forced, TCU forced Texas into a lot of turnovers. Gonzalez specifically, which is kind of out of character for her. And so they really had a lot of turnovers in that game, which in turn gave TCU more possessions.
Exactly, 16 turnovers in the game. And TCU outscored Texas in points off turnovers. Jones from the elbow. That's off. Rebound tapped around. And an offensive rebound for Amina Muhammad, who just came in. Muhammad can't stick it back. And a tie ball possession arrow goes to TCU. And we'll take a timeout. So neither team can get it going from the outside as of yet. Vic Schaefer's team kind of wading their way into this one in Fort Worth. Welcome back into Schollmeyer Arena. Texas, TCU getting together for the final time in the regular season as Big 12 rivals. Through the first half of the first quarter, a grinding game so far. Hi there. Hello. John Liddle back alongside Jada Curtis. Yeah, it's good to see you as well. Maybe Sydney Harris is a player that can break TCU out of the shooting slump. TCU struggled from outside against OU to the point that they really haven't this season.
They were 6 from 26 from distance, but when we talked to Coach Mark Campbell before the game, he said they got great shots, especially when he went back on the film and saw them again. He said, I'd take those shots again. They just weren't able to knock them down.
Some full court pressure by Texas, really trying to ratchet up the defense because TCU has had some open shots, but they're only 1 of 9 from the floor. And Texas only 2 of 11 from the floor. Agnes Emenopu out to Manumala Unya and can't stop her drive. That is a foul on Agnes Emenopu as she picks her first.
And that's something that, we talked about, that Agnes is going to have to be careful with those fouls. She doesn't take them home, each and every game. But against, Texas, especially with their size and her ability to really put pressure and play defense, they're going to need her on the floor.
So Texas has made an adjustment against the zone, putting Madison Booker on the short corner. What does that do for them?
She's able to use her size and really rise up. She scores really well from that mid-range, and it makes the defense shift. So if she's able to continue to knock those down, TCU's going to have to adjust.
Both teams taking care of the ball pretty well. Just one turnover aside. Just not making shots. Emma Nopu with only 8 to shoot. It takes it inside. Booker blocks the shot. It stays right here with TCU, but Madison Booker equally adept defensively as she is offensively.
And being able to just rotate on that backside to help her teammate who got beat off the bounce there. Really good job there by Booker.
Only 5 to shoot it. Manamala Unya looking for a good shot in the pick and roll. Knocked away and stolen by Amina Muhammad. Has a really long wingspan.
And Texas is really good on the defensive end. They're able to use their size and get their hands in those passing lanes like you'll see right there.
That's Roberson's first foul as Taylor Jones has her 3rd offensive rebound of the game already. And the senior out of Forney, just east of Dallas, goes to the line for 2. It's the 2nd foul on the Horned Frogs, and the 1st foul on Roberson. Taylor Jones leading the team in scoring until Madison Booker's recent resurgence.
She just has so much size. She stands at 6'4", and works hard in the paint for her shots. You'll see she's trying to get those 2nd and 3rd opportunities on the little bunny shots. So, just able to use her size as an advantage.
Can TCU get it going, especially from deep? They're only 1 of 8 from outside in this game. Emma Nopu. To Roberson. This 5-out motion offense. TCU picked it up after all the injuries. Jovanovic, good ball fake. Down the baseline, but the shot blocker there. Agnes Emanopu is now 0 of 4 from deep.
And I think one thing, TCU is getting good shots. They're getting shots out of their offense, and they're open. They're just not knocking them down.
First foul on Texas. It's offensive.
Offensive foul. That's the 2nd offensive foul here in this game, just on that backside defense. But I think when you're not making those shots, they're expecting you to take them. TCU's got to have some people going to the offensive glass as well as cutting to try to get those backdoor cuts, since they're expecting you to shoot those open 3-pointers.
That is the first on Taylor Jones. Meanwhile, TCU 0 of their last 8 from the field and hasn't scored in 4.5 minutes. It's equal to Texas' 7-0 run. This is a TCU team that has not struggled to score this year, and it's actually their scoring that's kept them in games, even as they've been shorthanded, as you've mentioned.
It looks like they're second-guessing themselves, especially because the 3 isn't falling for them.
And Harris finally gets one to go down. Sydney Harris has been red hot from outside.
For sure, and hopefully that ignites their offense because, again, struggling from outside, it looks like this new offense, they're trying to kind of figure out, well, what do we do now? And so hopefully that 3 there by Sydney Harris really gets it going.
Against the zone, rotates it out to Booker, inside Gaston. She's double-teamed, 14 to shoot. Step in for Holly, way over the top, and Manamala Unya starts the break. So TCU, for all their poor shooting, they're only down by 1 right now. And Holly picks up a foul trying to defend against Harris.
And you'll see right there, as soon as TCU got that rebound, they've slowed it up. They're trying to control pace against Texas and really play at the level that they want to, because they don't have a deep bench and they can't go up and down like they normally would like to.
Yeah, the foul is on Shea Holly. It was originally awarded to number 25 in the stadium here, but it does go on Holly, her first. 2nd team foul on Texas. Nice pass to Roberson inside, can't finish. And on the rebound, Clack reaching in, but yeah, this foul is going to go on TCU as Jade Clack, who's the daughter of Texas great Chris Clack, picks up her first foul.
And I like the intensity there by Jade, again, just trying to get in and get extra possessions and opportunities for TCU. It's only a 1-point game. They haven't been able to score in those open shots, but they're still within 1 here against Texas.
Booker trying to fill it up baseline. Muhammad at 6'4", the offensive rebound. So tough inside. Great rotation. Holly in the corner. Gets past Jovanovic, pulls up and nails a jumper.
Holly has just been, a constant for Texas. And whatever role that they need her to be, she steps up into that 4-year player here for Texas.
This one knocked away, and a foul will be called on Clack. Back-to-back fouls on Jade Clack. That is her second, and a turnover on TCU.
And I think both teams, kind of just need to settle here. Texas kind of figuring out now what to do against the zone. Like you said, putting Booker there at that short corner. But TCU's trying to, again, just settle in as well.
Mark Campbell's just done a remarkable job with this TCU team. Vic Schaefer said, it's just as well-coached a team as you see in the Big 12. They've got a good plan. They're making shots. It makes them a dangerous team. Despite the fact that TCU has lost 3 straight, and the pass into the weed whacker knocked away by Roberson. And TCU get it going with a minute left in the first quarter. Down by a triple. Manamala Unya has back-to-back games of 8 assists.
And last game against Texas, they found a lot of success with the pick and roll that's in that tunnel area. They haven't done that as much today.
Tunnel right down the middle of the lane. 2 to shoot. Jovanovic sees it. Desperation heave. Well short, but it did hit the rim. Clack after it. Tie ball. And it is going to go to Texas. And a really good effort there by the freshman Jade Clack from Austin.
And just down there battling, just trying to get her hands on the ball like she did in the last possession as well. Just off the bench, bringing some effort and energy is what TCU definitely needs.
Three-second difference, game clock to shot clock. Slow start offensively for both teams. When is it going to open up? Booker back running the point. Gonzalez lobs it inside. Great look to Muhammad for the easy finish.
That's just a beautiful pass right there. Just figuring out exactly where that opening is at that bottom of the zone. Really good finish.
5-point lead for Texas. Final 4 seconds of the first quarter. Flores behind the back. Pull up. No. Emma Nopu, that's late. And at the end of one, a defensive battle in Fort Worth. The Horned Frogs holding tough, but the number 7 Texas Longhorns up by 5 on ESPN. On that out so far, Mark Campbell's team, only 6 first quarter points. That's the fewest this season for a high-powered Horned Frog bunch.
For sure, they're having a tough time shooting 13.3% in that first quarter, which is uncharacteristic for them. And, Texas, they're 14-0 when they hold opponents to 59 points or less. And so TCU's got to come in the second quarter with a little bit more intensity, trying to get down to the, down to the cup and try to get some points in the paint to try to overcome that. And
you see Vic Schaefer's team outscoring opponents big by a couple hundred points in the first quarter, including today. And Texas as a team has the 3rd best scoring margin in the country, averaging 26-point blowouts every single time out. Texas 21-3 this season overall. TCU at 15-7 with a couple forfeits in conference play as well. That's why the conference mark is 2-9. Clack inside. Couldn't shoot it. Harris on the way to the cup. Contact with no call, and the rebound by Holly. Gonzalez, nice feed over the top. Gaston. And Emma Nopu puts her on the line. That's the 2nd foul on Agnes Emma Nopu.
And, that's how she gets her normal fouls, is that she goes straight up, and then right as the person, starts to shoot it, she kind of puts her hand down, trying to get her hand on the ball. And that's something that they can't have, and something that they preach to her. You've got to be on the floor, and you can't do that if you're in foul trouble. See right here, again, she went straight up. She's straight up right here, and then as soon as she goes, she puts her hand out, and that's going to be a foul call every time.
Mark Campbell says it's something that we've talked to her about all season long, but she's just such an aggressive player, and you cannot take her off the floor. TCU absolutely has to have her in a 5-second count. That is the 4th turnover on TCU in this game. Mark Campbell immediately going to go back into his bench and get Jovanovic and Manamala Unya in. for Clack and Flores.
And then, those 5-second calls, getting open, is something about just angles. You've got to get some contact on your defensive player and then to find the angle.
Texas has picked up the pressure. Holly wide open from the corner. Comes up short on the three. Muhammad, just too much muscle and so long to kiss it back home.
And she just rose up and grabbed that. Such a beautiful offensive rebound there.
Helped DeSoto to the 2022 6A state championship game. Try to imagine guarding her in high school. My goodness. Good rotation out top to Harris. Driving, trying to get it up, and no foul. It's knocked out of bounds. And TCU keeps down by 8.
And I think that was a good no call. She just kind of bobbled it in her hands. There wasn't a lot of contact there on that one. So I think that definitely was a good no call. But, TCU's got to execute right here on this baseline out of bounds play and try to get, a quick 2 points.
TCU calls timeout with 8:53 left in the second quarter. And there's Sedona Prince, actually recruited to Texas back in the day, now a TCU Horn Frog, and she is one of the noticeable absences for TCU. It has been a grueling, demanding time for TCU as they are missing all of this firepower with injuries to Connor Prince and Owens.
Yeah, 68% of TCU scoring is between Connor Prince and Owens, and there's nobody like them. You don't just have secondary people sitting on the bench with those type of capabilities, so they really are missing them here on the floor.
Another 5-second call as TCU gives this one away, and TCU calls another timeout as Coach Campbell wants to talk over it. Not often do you see back-to-back timeouts taken like that, but he knows how imperative it is here early for his team to do everything they can to stay in the game, because like you said, you've got Madison Connor down with a knee injury. She is going to come back later on this season. Same story as far as coming back for Sedona Prince. She's working her way back from a finger injury, but you will not have the outstanding Jada Owens the rest of this season due to a knee injury, the ACL she tore against Houston. There's Connor right there. And the Horned Frogs trying to do everything they can to stay in this game.
And I think, what they're really missing right now is the leadership, the on-court leadership there of Jaden. She can really get into them and rally them together, so that they can step up and respond to that. And that's something that they don't necessarily have on the floor anymore.
The Longhorns have not been spectacular offensively. They have not had to be, only giving up 6 points so far. Holly outside the zone to Gonzalez. Lobs it in and picked off by Manu Malaunia, who's a long guard at 5'9".
Forcing those turnovers is what, again, getting them more possessions, more opportunities to try to cut into the deficit here against Texas today.
Texas is just so good defensively. Jovanovic spins on Booker, can't hit, and that's just a case where size affects the shot. Booker up the floor herself, pass down low, and a great finish for Deanna Gaston, the senior from Pearland.
And so I think that's what, Booker's ability as a forward to step into a Big 12 program and become the point guard, become the engine and the leader on the floor. You see right there the vision that she had to find Deanna Gaston wide open under the basket is something that's, immeasurable.
Roberson for three, and you can't give her that much room. TCU finally back on the board.
And Roberson is who's really stepped up for them, and in the absence of Prince, Owens, as well as Connor. And if you get her going, that's how they really get back into the game.
Holly trying to find Gaston inside, but Gaston couldn't get two hands on it. Turnover on Texas, number 5. And you mentioned for the Longhorns just how incredible Madison Booker has been. I mean, you think about the 2 wins they had over the last week. Taking down number 3 K-State. Oh, there goes Vic Schaefer's jacket there. We know the game's on now. And then taking down Baylor at Baylor as well by 12, and the freshman leading the way. It's just remarkable.
I mean, to come in as a freshman, there's such a change in pace that you have to get used to. She has the body, for the Big 12, and just being able to come in and lead this team has been remarkable.
Agnes Emanopu going to the reverse for 2.
Like you said, the jacket came off. The game is on now. TCU finally able to get some points on the board here. three and a half minutes into the second quarter.
Back to a 5-point game. That's where we were at the end of one. Booker not a 3-point shooter. Gonzalez is, and rains one in from straight on.
With a hand in her face as well,
and,
able to knock it down.
Pardon me, Shea Holly picks up a foul in the backcourt. That is Holly's second as Una Jovanovic goes down to the ground. I mean, that's an embarrassment of riches for the Longhorns to have the 6th leading active scorer in D1 in Shaylee Gonzalez, who, as Holly goes to the bench, averages 9.5 points a game. I mean, that's quality for them, but she could go off at any time. Jekalinga, Wendintanda in there guarding on Flores, and Flores doesn't see Emanopu cutting down low, and the giveaway for TCU.
But I do like that Emanopu is cutting to the basket. That's something that they were missing in that first quarter, is just trying to really get to the basket. So I like the intent. You know, Victoria Flores now knows that she's got to be ready to hit her back door.
Another rhythm three for Gonzalez, looking back to back, no good. And on the rebound, Roberson stands tall with help from Emanopu. And here comes TCU down by 8. Especially with the short bench, it seems like the rhythm, the flow to this game favors TCU so far. Good job by Gonzalez to stay with it. And this is out of bounds, last touched by TCU.
And right there, that effort, 50-50 balls. And, you know, Flores is a freshman. She was going to let that one go out of bounds. But then you've got a senior in Gonzalez who's going to still go for that. You know, it's not over until the whistle is blown. And so that's just a little difference in point guards that you see. And it's a learning experience.
Texas has been through some bumps this year, losing their All-American point guard. Wow, what a take by Muhammad. She did not look open, but fights up through the traffic to score. Amina Muhammad has 6.
And she's so aggressive and willing to battle. Coach said she's the most improved. She went from 3.9 to 7.5 points per game. And so just really finding herself success on the floor.
Successful here early, finding some rare offense for Texas. Agnes Emanopu trying to hit one from 3, but comes up short. She had a tough game from outside at OU, where she went 1 of 6. Jones wide open inside. 4 players touch the ball. It never touches the floor. Taylor Jones has 5.
And one thing that I love about Taylor Jones, that she keeps the ball high. She doesn't let the shorter bring it down when she gets it and let the shorter players get their hands on it. That's something, you know, that they teach all post players, and she really does exemplify that.
TCU trying to get some movement on their offense. It's been fairly stagnant by their standards. Emanopu knows she just has to keep shooting and gets the friendly roll.
You've got to keep shooting in order for it to go in, and that's what she does. It's been the same play. She missed 3 in that same exact spot, I believe, and able to knock that one down.
TCU's crowd rising. Great throng of Longhorn fans here, too. Texas by 9. Booker inside. Muhammad. Contact, and Roberson is called for the foul. No, rather it is going to be Victoria Flores on the foul. That is her first. And team foul number 2 on TCU. Free throws for Amina Muhammad.
The ball movement there by Texas. They're just working the zone and waiting for somebody to slip up on their rotations. And their spacing is really good as well, and making TCU cover a lot of ground.
Amina Muhammad, the 6'4" freshman out of DeSoto, just about 35, 40 minutes down the road. Couldn't hit either free throw, however, and TCU there for the board. You know, the door's been open here for TCU in the first half, though. Texas has not been able to run away. Can TCU step through it? All it takes is a couple threes. Emanopu again online, but it rims out.
And Texas hasn't played, you know, to their ability here thus far. And so TCU's got to take advantage of that.
That's a foul on Muhammad, and a rare miss by Jones against a smaller player. TCU gets it back with 3:24 left in the half, a chance to slice into the lead.
And, you know, when we talked to Coach, Schaefer, he said that they've got to take care of the ball against TCU. Like we mentioned earlier, they had 16 turnovers last game. And so taking care of the ball is a big point of emphasis for them.
They're just going to keep bringing pressure, meanwhile, on TCU, who turned it over 23 times against Texas the first time around. Really, Texas won that game thanks to this disparity at the free throw line. They went to the free throw line 32 times and hit 24 shots. Only 8 to shoot. Manumala Unia drives left. Agnes Emanopu brings home a 3.
And that saved them right there, because every time a TCU player gets the ball, they're looking around. You know, you can tell by their stance. They're not in that three-point stance ready to attack. And as a defensive player, that lets them know they're looking to pass. They're not looking to attack.
Unyielding defensive game so far. The tip pass to Winentada, way over the top on her offering, and a strong rebound by the best rebounding guard in the Big 12, Agnes Emanopu.
You know, TCU's getting stops. They're doing a really good job on the defensive end. They've got to continue to put that same pressure on the offensive end against Texas. Down
by 6 in the post. Emanopu out to Roberson. Roberson underneath, and she's called for the double dribble as she crossed 2 players, put 2 hands on it, and a smile on her face as TCU gives it away for the 8th time.
And I think she was wanting Tara to go float down to the corner so that she can hit her for that 3.
Remember, this is an entirely new offense for TCU. They put it in during that stretch where they canceled 2 games, had to forfeit 2 games due to not having enough players available. Then they added 4 walk-ons. Gonzalez to the corner, Booker put on the line. Her long 2 doesn't go. Manumala Unia thinks about pushing, but she'll live to fight another day. TCU only down by 2 possessions.
Again, controlling the pace is going to be a key to the game when we talk to Mark Campbell.
Jovanovic. Oh, what a take, and 1. Got Winentada in the air. Jovanovic finishes and has a chance at the old-fashioned 3-point play.
Again, she was able to just get her on her hip, and it's the little, be able to lift up and finish that. And unfortunately, Montada's length caused the foul there for Una Jovanovic to send her to the line.
Winentada, an intimidating guard at 6'2" to try to go over. But Jovanovic hits the and 1, and Texas has cut it all the way down to a 3-point game.
And I know TCU's a 3-point shooting team, but I would like to see them attack the basket more.
9-0 run. Muhammad off the mark. Emanopu there for the rebound. What about for Texas? What do you want to see from them offensively? Because they're in a real drought right now.
They are in a drought, and I think you go to Jones. She's found success there in the paint. She has a clear size advantage. I think you continue to hit the paint to her.
TCU feeling it a little bit. It's a 9-0 run. Clack. Cut off. Muhammad picks up the big steal, and Booker pushes for Texas. Booker, the freshman phenom. Off the mark, long rebound. Clack tracks it down. Game clock to shot clock difference is 10, and TCU has another chance to get within 1 or tie it up.
And getting back to their pick and roll offense, you'll see right there, it's what they're used to.
Clack, baseline. TCU bench wanted a foul call, none comes, and Gonzalez walks it up with a chance to take the final shot.
Looks like they're calling flat there. It's going to be a pick and roll for Madison Booker.
Booker, Clack, that's a foul that TCU had to give, and a very smart foul by the Horned Frogs.
And Booker looked like she's limping there. You know, Texas has dealt with a lot of injury. I think Booker has had a hamstring that's kind of been bothering her, and right now she's just kind of walking tenderly there, hoping that she's okay.
TCU has 1 more foul to give. Booker, 3-pointer, good if it goes. No. And at the end of the second quarter, TCU closes the half on a 9-0 run over the final 4 minutes. Vic Schaefer, all he can do is shake his head. Mark Campbell and his team within 3 points of the number 7 team in the nation. At halftime, the number 7 Texas Longhorns looking for their 9th straight win over TCU and leading the Horned Frogs 23-20 at the break. Welcome back inside. I'm John Liddle alongside Jada Curtis. Great to have you with us as well. It was in danger of being a runaway in that second quarter especially, but how did TCU hang around in this one?
I think they just came out and was the aggressor in that second quarter. They weren't hitting shots in the first quarter, but in the second quarter they finally was able to put the ball into the basket, and I think that ignited their confidence.
Well, for sure, coming into this game, Texas, a team that has been great in the paint, we thought that's what we were going to get again, and while some of the points from Texas came in the painted area in the first half, they really haven't overwhelmed TCU there.
No, they're 8 points in the paint to TCU's 4. And you know what the stat is they average 16 points in the paint more than their opponents. And so TCU's doing a really good job, even though they're outsized, of holding that down and not letting them really run away with that stat.
Well, for sure in the second half, Vic Schaefer will have some ways to get his team open inside. Meanwhile, for the TCU Horned Frogs, Agnes Eminoku didn't start great in this game, but man, she poured it on in the second quarter.
Yeah, for sure. You know, she's a really good three-point shooter. She's 2 for 8 right now, but that hasn't stopped her from keeping to shoot. And so finally able to knock them down, as we see one right there. But again, her energy and her effort on both sides of the floor have really kept TCU in this game. She has 8 points so far.
But I think a 3-point game at the half with the number 7 team in the country certainly could categorize as struggling. John Liddle back with Jada Curtis. But number 7, Texas, they have been playing some outstanding ball to this point. What is it going to take for the Longhorns to get back to the form that saw them really blow out Kansas State before K-State came back late, and then go to Baylor and pick up a big win as well?
I think they just got to get back to their self, you know, on the defensive end, and we saw that in the first quarter. They like to smother, you know, they like to get up in your face, get in the passing lanes, and that turns into transition offense for them. And I think in the second quarter, they kind of got away from that. TCU outscored them 14-12. And so I think, again, if they just be who they are as far as the defensive team and translate that into offense, that'll really have them take off.
Vic Schaefer in his 4th year at the helm. He's been in big game after big game in his career. This is nothing new, tight conference games, but this is what conference action is all about. Low-scoring defensive action. Texas starts with the ball in the second half after shooting just 33% from the field. Booker, the freshman, inside, but her pass hits the rim and ricochets right to Aaliyah Moore for her first 2.
Yeah, Leah Moore only played about 5 minutes in the first half, which we were surprised about. But, it might be due to an injury, but able to get on the board there and make a difference for Texas so far.
Flores called for the travel, and the 10th giveaway by TCU. Again, they turned it over 23 times the first time the two teams got together. But TCU outscored Texas 14-12 in the second quarter. Why were they better offensively in the second?
And I think they were less hesitant, not really sure of themselves and kind of how Texas was playing thus far. And so I think they kind of settled in.
Holly with a big offensive rebound, finding the ball on the backside, and she is fouled. Shea Holly, just a winner, says Vic Schaefer, a glue player on their team.
And Holly, a fourth-year player, she was the only one that he inherited and that's still at Texas from, her recruiting class. And he said that she's what is good about college basketball. She comes in and day out and works, and it's just very consistent. And so that's exactly what you want from a player.
Absolutely dependable. Always knows what he's going to get from Shea Holly. A 2-for-2 trip this time. And Texas advances their lead to 7, scoring the first 4 points of the second half. TCU, a hot shooting outside team. It's hit 10 threes 12 times this season. And there's another one, Victoria Flores. If she has time and space, she can hit.
Again, in rhythm, just being able to get herself set and knock those down. TCU had lots of good open opportunities, and they just weren't able to hit them in the first half. If they start hitting those, this is really a game.
6 of 16 from outside for TCU. That's where most of their points are coming from. Reverse it to Booker into the lane. Fadeaway jump shot, so pure for Madison Booker.
But that's what she does, you know, all day, every day with her eyes closed, being able to get to that nail and lift up. Madison Booker is just really, really good.
She's been held to only 6 points in this game. This is a player that's been averaging 20 a contest in conference play. Emma Nopu, extra pass. Jovanovic gives it up. Roberson, open look. It crawls off. But Agnes Emma Nopu is always hustling after the rebound.
And I like right there how they didn't take another quick three rather than trying to work some offense in the paint there.
Jovanovic off the mark, but a foul coming on Booker. Victoria Flores gets splayed out on the floor.
Just pursuing the offensive glass right there, able to get a foul there on Madison Booker. You'll see that push in the back. So you're rewarded a little bit when you go and try to get on those offensive glass.
No, she had position. Definite push from behind by the freshman. So TCU gets a third crack this possession, down by 6. Emma Nopu, another three, and she is locked in now. Her third three of the afternoon.
Is working that motion offense and taking advantage of those, like you said, that third possession that they were able to get.
Texas Longhorns bunch called for a travel. Aaliyah Moore got a great look inside, but the action around her distracted her enough where she shuffled the feet.
And each time you see they're trying to get into the paint.
TCU called for a couple 5-second counts back in the first half, but able to get it in safely here. TCU could tie it on a three. They gave Texas a great game in Austin last month. Agnes Emma Nopu loses it to the ground, and it's tied up. Possession arrow. It does favor TCU with 11 to shoot.
And, you know, TCU and this new offense, turnovers are going to happen, and I think Coach Mark Campbell is aware of that. I don't think he trips too much, you know, when they give those away because they are working hard.
Horned Frogs lost 20 straight games against ranked teams. Jovanovic, 3 to shoot. Jovanovic is blocked, but it comes outside to Emma Nopu. This is going to keep going because it went off the rim. Flores dumps it inside. Roberson is fouled. What action by the Horned Frogs. Desperation heave turns out to be another second chance opportunity for the Frogs.
We'll see right there, just being able to draw Holly right there and then drop it off. Aaliyah kind of did that real quick because she saw Taylor Jones, 6'4" center, coming at her, was able to draw a foul there. I like TCU's effort and energy that they've come out with from halftime, because the past couple of games, the third quarter has been where they've lost games, and so being able to come out and really throw the first punch here in this second half has been good for them.
Roberson, the 60% foul shooter. 1 of 2 trip. She has 7 in the game and double figures in 4 straight coming in. She has really been counted on, especially in the absence of Madison Connor and Sedona Prince. Longhorns trying to get out of an offensive slump. Booker dribbling to that nail area again, and her fadeaway rolls down.
She's just able to lift up over, you know, at 6'1", she has the ability to do that and be able to knock those down.
Victoria Flores still dribbling as she goes to the ground and then gets the kickball on Gonzalez. Flores showing some Harlem Globetrotter-esque ability there.
And that was a good, luckily she got that off of the foot because it was going to be a turnover and Texas has possession.
Globies in town, by the way, to face the Washington Generals.
I saw Alexis Morris from Baylor is now on the Globetrotters.
Outstanding. Love that.
A little Big 12 representation.
5 to shoot. TCU in a world of hurt. It's just lobbed off the glass by Flores, and here comes Booker. Texas by 4. But Gonzalez loses it. Now Flores has it in full flight. Roberson joining. Flores back to Manamala Union. Texas back defensively.
TCU's done a really good job of sticking to their game plan, playing at the pace that they want to play and not being rushed.
Roberson around and off, but a great look for the forward. The longer TCU hangs around against the number 7 Texas Longhorns, the more they believe. Outside to Booker, makes the extra pass to Holly. 11 to shoot, good spin move, Moore, count it, and one for Aaliyah Moore.
Moore is just a lot to handle there in the post, a beautiful spin move. And we'll take a look at it again. A beautiful spin move there off of Emanoku, was able to draw the foul and get herself a 3-point chance opportunity.
And Agnes Emanoku, who has rarely come off the floor in this game, does have to come to the bench with her 3rd foul. The second Horned Frog with 3 fouls. The other is Jade Clack. Leah Moore misses on the foul shot. Rebound knocked out to the corner. It's last touched by TCU. And another chance for Texas.
And Gaston right there just giving a little bit of extra effort to hit that off of Tara, because it was going to be TCU's ball there.
Texas just has such a deep roster. Mark Campbell calling them the most talented team in the league. And when you look at their 4-5 spot, they go 2 to 3 deep at both those places. Gonzalez into the lane. Nice bucket for Shaylee Gonzalez on the run. It's a 4-point possession for Texas, claiming an 8-point advantage. A 6-0 run overall.
And, you know, Texas is not just going to lie down. They have the lead here, and they're finding a way to score in this 3rd quarter.
Matamala Unyu with 10 to shoot. With Roberson in the pick and roll. Nowhere to go with it. Harris late in the shot clock. The drive, the kiss, doesn't go. Long rebound. Gonzalez has it for Texas. Trailing 3 by Booker. Bangs it down. It's an 11-point lead for the Longhorns.
And that's something that you don't see from Booker a lot. But again, I feel like that's going to really get Texas going, is to have their freshman star step up there.
Huge 9-0 run for Texas. In the first half, TCU responded. Can they do it again? Good opportunity there, but Clack's bouncer a little bit too low off of Roberson. And that takes us to a timeout. Vic Schaefer doesn't look like a guy that's happy his team is up by 11, but Texas controlling play now. Welcome back into Fort Worth. John Liddle and Jada Curtis with you. Texas Longhorns up on TCU 38-27. Texas has been incredibly efficient offensively this season, ranking top 10 in points per game and field goal percentage. First in the Big 12 in that respect as well. They've made their last 5 field goals in this game. But Vic Schaefer's worst nightmare may have just happened, and that is Madison Booker, the freshman phenom, leaving the game and sprinting to the locker room, or I should say walking to the locker room under her own power during that timeout. And you have to wonder, for the leading scorer for Texas, will she be back?
And injuries is something that they've dealt with. You know, they had their point guard and Rory Harmon tear her ACL, so she can't play. And then, again, just little nagging injuries that they've had to deal with all season with other players. So really hoping that Madison Booker is okay.
Number 21, Gisela Mull, in for the first time for Texas, but misses on the 3, and Jovanovic claims it. Texas with the 11-point lead, their largest of the second half. And TCU trying to get back into it. They can do it in a hurry thanks to their outside shooting. This one's off by Harris.
TCU, before that shot, was shooting 22% in the 3rd quarter, looking a lot like the first quarter, you know, that they had. And meanwhile, Texas has gotten 8 points in the paint. 8 out of their 15 points were in the paint in this 3rd quarter. But Aaliyah Moore able to knock down that short corner jumper right there for Texas.
And Moore 6 points, leading Texas in this quarter and helping Texas take their largest lead at 13. Matamala Unyu has a lane, but loses it to the ground. Moore wants it tied up. And it is, in the possession arrow in favor of UT. 8 straight wins for the Longhorns over TCU in this series. Meanwhile, for the Horned Frogs, they're also looking for their first win over a top 10 team since 2018. those opportunities are rare, and TCU trying to figure out a way to get back in this game. But there's a reason that Texas, even though they're not playing their best game in this one, is number 7 in the country. They're just so deep and solid.
And one thing we talked about with Coach Schaefer, you know, I'm sure he's not surprised by how they're playing today, because he said their practices, he's kind of been unimpressed with those and how they've come out. And so this is not really surprising how they've come out in this game.
Great job to hit Gaston on the short corner. And now Texas moving it against the zone much better in the second half.
Yeah, they're figuring it out and being able to just knock down shots.
Jovanovic has it poked away, has it back. Harris wide open for 3 off the scramble. No, Emanopu goes hard to the ground. And another tie ball. This time the possession goes to TCU off the hustle by Agnes Emanopu.
And it's just so hard to tell her to not foul, to tell her to, you know, kind of pull back the aggression, because it's plays like that that make a difference and get you the tie ball when you maybe necessarily wouldn't have gotten it without her effort.
And TCU needs effort plays like that to get back in. Skip pass over the top, Jovanovic. Inside, Roberson in the land of the trees, and she is fouled. Roberson will have a chance to end this 13-0 Texas run.
And one thing you have to do when you're outside there in the post, and something that Aaliyah Robertson just did, is you've got to pump fake. You've got to try and get the bigs to jump a little bit or bite, so that you can then go up and try to draw contact and get yourself to the free throw line like she did.
Shayla Gonzalez, the one to pick it up. And Roberson has 8 in this one. She has just been invaluable for this team, keeping them in games while some of the top guns are out.
And, you know, last year she had a very different role than she has this year. And again, from the beginning of the season to now, what her role has been, they call on her each and every game on both sides of the floor, which they didn't necessarily have to. And she's been stepping up. Coach Mark Campbell's really impressed with her.
Longhorns now running some motion offense. Holly, the handoff to Aaliyah Moore. Up and under against Agnes Emanopu. And Aaliyah Moore showing why she's one of the most talented players in this league.
The footwork, that's just fundamentals right there. And I'm happy to see that even, you know, coming back from an ACL injury, she's really trusting herself and getting more comfortable. 2-time
Gatorade Player of the Year in Oklahoma. A steal by Texas, and they've already got this game by the throat, looking for more. Wide open look from the corner. Shea Holly says hello. Texas by 19.
And just this quarter alone, this is who Texas is. They're getting more back to what they, you know, normally play like.
And outscoring TCU 24-8 in the quarter, make it 24-10 off the Jovanovic take.
And TCU finds a lot of success when they put defenders on their hip and get downhill. And so that's something that they haven't really been pressing this game.
Holly off the glass and no, but fouled by Sydney Harris. And Shea Holly to the line for a couple. That's the first on Harris.
Holly's just so good. She's just really, really good with the ball in her hands, especially the toughness that she displayed right there, drawing the foul against Harris.
Meanwhile, you'll see Booker come back into your view, walking behind the Texas bench there. Good to see Madison Booker back on the sideline. Freshman phenom, after going to the locker room for some treatment. Holly hits both foul shots. She's up to 9, but 8 of them in this quarter, as Texas scored only 23 in the first half. They've got 25 in the quarter to blow it open. Does TCU have a final run? Final shot of the third quarter. TCU could take it if they want it. Agnes Emanopu. Extra pass. 3 to shoot. Floater, Jovanovic. It's good at the end of the quarter. A little spark of life for the TCU Horned Frogs as they trail by 17 at the end of 3. But number 7 Texas has taken control in Fort Worth. Big 12 scoreboard. BYU tops Cincinnati this afternoon. Meanwhile, number 18 Baylor, in a battle of ranked teams, gets the better of Mark Kellogg's West Virginia team by 7. The game played in Waco. Meanwhile, a really tight one between Oklahoma State and Kansas State. That one in the third quarter. A couple other games coming up tonight. Oklahoma tries to stay on a roll against Iowa State. UCF and Texas Tech getting together. Vic Schaefer's team in the midst of a 3-game winning streak and then putting up a dominant third quarter effort to take control. 49-32. John Liddle back alongside Jada Curtis, and Texas was incredibly hot in that third quarter.
Yeah, they shot 83%, in the third quarter alone, and had more points than they did in the first half together. And that's something that, as a defensive, you can't have if you want to try to take down number 7 ranked Texas.
Yeah, and now off a rare miss, Gisela Maul bumps in there, has the offensive rebound, so another chance for Moore and company, and instead, it's the 4th foul on Agnes Emanobu and first team foul of the 4th quarter.
She's got to be smart here, maybe now is the time that you kind of draw that aggressiveness back on the defensive end to be able to play 9.5 more minutes.
Moore almost picks up an and one. But goes back to the line to shoot 2, and Aaliyah Morris really shown up in the third quarter after a quiet first half where she only played 5 minutes.
She's really showing how comfortable she's getting, and especially there in the post.
Still trying to get comfortable after the ACL injury last year. Coach Vic Schaefer says there's another step of quickness that she can gather as she goes on throughout the season, but she started 7 straight, and she's had double figures in 7 straight.
And I watched an interview of her last game. She said she's still working on that lateral movement. I've torn both ACLs, so I know exactly what she's talking about, and just really trusting your body through the injury.
And a foul for aggressiveness on Deanna Gaston as Texas is bringing the full court pressure, and those denials make it really tough on TCU.
And that's what, Coach Schaefer's, no matter where he goes, at Texas A&M, at Mississippi State, now here at Texas, he loves when you bring the effort and energy on the defensive end, and that's exactly what his team has done.
And they forced a turnover there. That was just too strong for Flores. And for TCU, giveaway number 14 in this game. They've held the giveaways down as compared to their effort at Texas, where they turned it over 23 times. Gaston, great look. Too long, and Manamala Unya claims it. Manamala Unya with 6 assists in this game. She has back-to-back games with 8 assists. Looking for somewhere to go. Finally gets it over to Flores before a 5-second count.
TCU is trying to figure out this 5-out offense.
Manamala Unya, the 3 doesn't go, but Roberson has the rebound. Flores, Harris underneath, twirls and hits.
Just the patience there to see exactly where the defenders were. Was able to spin back and get away from the defenders to finish that.
TCU 7 second chance points. The Texas with a dozen. Long hill to climb for TCU, down by 16. Still haven't seen Madison Booker back since she went to the bench with injury, and off the tap back, Deanna Gaston bangs one in.
Deanna Gaston has been really good in this game for Texas.
Good defense by Gonzalez, forces the turnover, long home run feed, and Shea Holly is on the other end.
Coach Vic Schaefer's fired up there that their defense is turning into offense for them, and they're just really getting back to themselves.
This undermanned TCU bunch just ran out of gas at OU after making it a game. Maybe they've run out of gas today as well. Roberson says not so fast off the feed from Flores.
She's been the one constant for TCU throughout this stretch of the season, and just giving the effort and energy on both ends of the floor. She's having to guard Texas's 5s and centers who, are out.
As Shea Holly reigns in a 3. Shea Holly has a big second half going with 12 of her 14.
Again, consistency is what we talked about before that Coach Schaefer knows that he's going to get from her.
Timeout called by Mark Campbell. The immediate timeout as well. TCU has fought so hard against one of the most talented teams in the Big 12 But number 7, Texas, has Vic Schaefer feeling good and on the cusp of win number 399. By 21, and here's their upcoming schedule. They're just coming out of a gauntlet while they stay in the state, going to Houston on Valentine's Day, and then match up with Iowa State, one of the top teams in the league, on ESPN2. Follow that up with a home game against Tech, and then at UCF, and a rematch with Oklahoma, going to Norman this time. OU nipped Texas the first time around between the two teams. Meanwhile, for TCU, they've got a home game against West Virginia, who hung tough with Baylor today, and then at Cincinnati, BYU, home against Houston and Texas Tech. And TCU hoping that soon they will start to get some of these players back, like Madison Connor and Sedona Prince.
Yeah, Coach Mark Campbell said, he can't build a program off of one season. They've got to create depth. And so they've really been, process over outcome thus far throughout the season with the injuries that they've had to sustain.
How hard do you think that is for, a coach, Coach Campbell, especially when he's going up against some of these great teams? That'll be the 3rd ranked game in a row that they play when they go up against West Virginia, to continue to preach the process over outcome when he is looking at the win-loss record as well.
And I think it's not that hard because, you have such great players who want to just get out on the floor and compete every day. And he said their attitude has been really good throughout this time. They're happy to come out on the floor and work hard. And so I think with their attitude, and it's not hard to get them to really continue to try to play hard.
Now, Roberson, one of those hard-working players. She's in double figures for a 5th straight game now. And she has just blossomed in this role. Led San Antonio Clark to the state semis, where they lost actually to DeSoto and Amina Muhammad's team. She was still a TGCA All-State player. 1-for-2 trip there. Texas still has this 20-point lead, though. Hard to believe it was a 3-point contest at the break, but Longhorns have taken over with their depth and a much more efficient second half.
I think now Texas is just kind of getting back into their offense, using the clock on their side to get a high percentage shot. Unfortunately, Holly wasn't able to knock it down right there, but that's the type of looks that they're wanting to get. Still,
they're shooting really well this half. 65%, even with that miss. And the turnover on TCU. So up next for the Horned Frogs. It really is amazing how deep this Big 12 is. They'll have that 3rd straight ranked game. They take on West Virginia. Since in the 47 years that TCU has been a women's basketball program, they've only had 3 straight ranked games. This will be the 3rd time in team history. It does not happen very often.
That just shows you how good the Big 12 is, that every night is a gauntlet. And so, having to every day put your shoes on and try to go out and win these games. Looked like a foul there by Sydney Harris. But every day in the Big 12 is a tough game, no matter if you're at home or if you're away. And so they're going to have a tall task against West Virginia on Tuesday.
And although Texas and OU lead the league next year, you get 4 new teams in the league that will make the league even deeper. What a challenge it's going to be on a nightly basis. Gisela Mall puts in her first bucket. The freshman out of Cedar Park, the true freshman, is coming back from an ACL injury in her senior year, and Texas up by 22. Agnes Eminopu really fought hard in this one. Back out to Clack, her dad, a former Longhorn. Now Jovanovic dips inside, comes up short, but she's fouled.
And a crafty finish right there by Una Jovanovic to get herself to the free throw line. And she's trying to dig into this 22-point lead from Texas.
Stellar atmosphere here at Schollmeyer. Really great crowd. A lot of Longhorn fans in attendance, and seeing their Texas Longhorns up by 22 on TCU. And Shea Holly didn't do it a lot scoring-wise in the first half, but in the second half, she's just been ultra efficient and outstanding for the Longhorns.
Yeah, Shea Holly, 11 points right now. Again, the consistency that Coach Schaefer talked about, that she's had throughout the season, throughout her time at Texas, as well as we're seeing that today.
Vic Schaefer just loves the way she plays. A 1 of 2 trip for Uni Jovanovic, who has 8 points. Texas has not had to bring Madison Booker back in the game. She did rejoin the team on the bench as the pull-up goes down for Gaston, and Texas has been so much better offensively in the second half.
And I think, not having to bring her back is a luxury that Texas have. They have so much depth, and able to have Gonzalez run that point guard position and have Holly on the other side. There's no need for her to come back in this game, especially when you're up big against TCU.
Depth, something that TCU does not have, especially coming into the season. I talked to Mark Campbell a lot, and he said we just have no depth behind our starters, and then those starters start to go down. And it really is remarkable the way that the team has gelled and given a lot of great effort, even in spite of the fact that they haven't had their 3 best players, as a foul is called on Agnes Eminoku, and that is her 5th.
Looks like, Eminoku's going to foul out of the game.
Agnes Eminoku given a hand after 11 points, 9 rebounds, really kept her team in it in the first half.
And she's a workhorse, that blue-collar worker mentality that she has. And she's just really smart, but, that's something that you can't coach. And so, she fouls out some games, it is what it is. But, Coach likes her effort that she brings day in and day out.
Under 4 to play, and you start to think you're probably going to get an opportunity to see the TCU walk-ons in this game with the way it's going. Those 4 walk-ons that joined the team about 2 weeks ago after the team had to cancel 2 games because they were down to 6 healthy players, as Harris out of the left corner nails a 3. Just a pure shooter, Sydney Harris.
Sydney Harris, she only had 3 attempts before that one. Now she's 2 for 4. That's what she does, is shoots the 3. She has such a quick release when it's finally able to knock it down.
TCU comes up with a steal now. Jovanovic, but a moving screen on Sydney Harris. And TCU gives it away. Oh, look, Madison Booker is coming back in a 20-point game. That's got to say something that whatever is going in with Madison Booker isn't that severe.
Yeah, a good thing that she's back here on the floor. It's a good thing for the Longhorns to come back in and lead this team.
Was leading her team with 11 before she went out, assuming with an injury. She went to the bench and then pretty much immediately into the training room. Texas polishing off a big win as Booker pulls up, and she is no worse for wear. Madison Booker has 13.
And just came off the bench, straight into the game. Mid-range jumper was cash.
Rebecca Lobo, the legend of UConn and WNBA fame, Naismith Hall of Famer, as the three-pointer is missed, said she's already got a pro body, a pro game, plays with maturity beyond that of most freshmen. She is a special player. And a player they're going to get to see in Austin for 4 years. Jumper over the top. Clack tracks down the rebound, though, for TCU, as one of the walk-ons is up and ready to check in for TCU, Sarah Sylvester. TCU calls timeout. It's their final timeout. It's a full timeout, as Sarah Sylvester, the sophomore from Livonia, Michigan, comes in, and then a couple of the other walk-ons are going to check in as well. But Sylvester, the first player in TCU history to play both basketball and volleyball, and Piper Davis, Ella Hamlin, and Micaiah Moore will be coming in as well. So with $1:45 left, a chance for TCU to give this for a little bit of a run, and they also got in the last 2 minutes against OU. Coach Mark Campbell said it was a great thing for them because they are part of the reason that our season is staying alive right now.
Yeah, for sure. And, unfortunately, with them on the floor means that TCU is not winning the game, unfortunately, because, they are just providing depth. but being able to just come in and just help this team. You know, in practice, they've been able to go 5-on-5 because they have these walk-ons who've come in and try to just help in any way that they can. So, again, just an opportunity right now for them to possibly live their dream. They didn't know that they're going to come in and play college basketball, yet here they are getting time against a 7th-ranked Texas team.
Ella Hamlin from Granbury. She's from just down the road by about 40 minutes. Hamlin, who had 1,500 career points at Granbury High School and had some opportunities to play in college, but decided to come to TCU just as a student. Meanwhile, Texas will respond with some substitutions of their own, getting Booker and Moore out of the game, and Jordana Codio in along with Amina Muhammad. And then you've got Micaiah Moore on the inbound right now, and Moore out of Brownsboro, Texas, in East Texas. She won a state championship back in 2022. Nice take by Jovanovic, but a better block by Wenentanda.
And her size right there, 6'2", over Jovanovic, just able to get her hands up without fouling and get a beautiful block.
So Jovanovic is the lone scholarship player on the floor right now for TCU, and it's the first chance to play at home for 3 of these walk-ons as Jovanovic dives baseline and earns foul shots.
I think one thing about these walk-ons and the logistics of everything is that, especially for Sarah Sylvester, she hasn't been able to change her schedule to be able to come to practice because right now her schedule is set up for the volleyball. And so luckily the other 3 were able to change their schedule so they can come into practice. Coach Mark Campbell right now drawing up a defense so they can just know somewhat of what to do since they haven't been able to collectively be in practice together.
Jovanovic now in double figures. Now, there's so much that goes into this story, and it made it such a feel-good story to pick up the win over UCF, a game in which Sylvester played a minute at the end of the 3rd quarter as well. Short corner jumper down from Wenentanda. She averages 5 a game. That's her first 2. Jovanovic running the point here. We'll see how she gets the other walk-ons involved. Looking for a high screen from Sylvester. Jovanovic doesn't find her. Instead, Hamlin to Sylvester in the corner. Only 8 to shoot. Will Moore have to put it up? Hamlin out to Sylvester. Sylvester closed on, leans in, no shot, a travel. Does not count for Sarah Sylvester.
And these players have such good high school experience, but they're not necessarily Big 12 college level athletes. And so being able to just come in here and just provide some relief is good for the TCU women's basketball team.
Well, the biggest thing is trying to get into basketball shape. Yeah, sure, you can be lean and, you know, in the prime of your life, but it's a different thing to be in basketball shape. Micaiah Moore comes out with a steal, but she has her pocket picked by Codio. Man, this place was ready to erupt if Micaiah Moore was able to take that one to the rack.
Oh, my goodness. It would have been such a good thing for her, for sure.
But the Texas Longhorns take control in the 3rd quarter and use a dominant second half to pick up their 4th straight win. And the rivalry between Texas and TCU in the Big 12 in the regular season is done for now, as the Texas Longhorns knock off the TCU Horned Frogs 65-43.